Okay, so I've mixed my mortar. As I say, we've already covered that in a previous video, so if you check out the college website, you'll be able to see the video on mixing a small amount of mortar in a bucket and the ratios and why it's important, so we're not going to go over that again. Something I didn't show you in the initial video, tool equipment, this is called a hawk or a handboard, and if you were doing a lot of repointing then you may want to use this because it's a little bit more comfortable. I still prefer to use a trowel, but that's just because I'm a bit old and long in the tooth, and it's what I prefer to do. But I just thought I'd show you that's another tool that you could use. So basically, I think what I'll probably do is I'll bring the camera a little bit closer so you can get a bit of a close-up on how I'm putting the mortar into the joint. Let's see if we go there. Okay, so you don't need too much mortar on the trowel. I've got a little bit here, and this is a slightly different consistency to the mortar that we mix for laying a brick, because you just need it a little bit stiffer, because if it's too runny you're going to get all over the face of the brick. So all I would need to do is I'm just putting mortar on there, and you can see I'm making a little bit of a ramp like a ski slope on there, and then all I'm going to do is get my pointed trowel, and whilst holding the trowel slightly elevated I'm just pushing that up, and as you can see there we get a lovely little wedge shaped piece of mortar, which means the pointy end of that can go into the joint without getting it on the brick. So you would normally do your perps first, so all you're doing is putting that in there and tucking that in, and then again prepare it on the joint, get it in, and again push in. It's really important that you get that motion of tucking it in. What you don't want to do is just apply it to the face and think you've done the job. You've got to make sure you push it right in to fill the void, okay? And that's why it's important we don't go too deep as well. And I know I'm making this probably look a little bit easier than you're going to find it, but the trick is don't put too much on your trowel. Small amounts, you're not going to make a mess. If you go like that, you're going to end up with it all over the face of the brickwork, and you'll probably get a little bit frustrated. So small's best. You can always add more. And once you've done the perps, then you can go into the bed joint, and it's exactly the same process. You put it on, and you can see there how I'm tucking it right into the back of the joint. Yeah, you're feeding it in, then I could come back to there and top it up. And again, you've got to do this in a reasonably fast fashion, because what you don't want to do is the mortar going off. Okay, and it's exactly the same process over and over again. Small amount of mortar, tuck it into the back of the joint, and just keep going. It's a very monotonous type of job. I mean, I particularly like repointing because I'm stood still, and once you're set up, it's I find it quite therapeutic, to be honest. Not running around laying 500 bricks a day, getting all out of breath, especially when you get to my age. So again, I'm just going to carry on tucking that in there, making sure that it's full. I can't tell you how important it is, because if you don't make that effort to push that in, it will fall out, and you'll say, "Blimey, that Andy Gould showed me how to do repointing and it's just fallen out." I can assure you, if you do it this way, it'll stay in. I can take you around the potteries to countless buildings that I've repointed in my 30 odd years, and I'm always boring my family saying, I built that, I did that. Part of the perks of the job, isn't it? Okay, so I'm going to stop there for a second, because what you've got to bear in mind is, as I've mentioned before in the previous video, this mortar is going to go off quite quick just because of the type of brick that we're using. It's going to go off really quickly, so you've got to use your judgment, and you've got to keep on top of that, because otherwise it'll go off and you won't be able to do anything with it, and you're going to have to take it back out. So you've constantly got to be on your guard, and don't do too much of an area before going back and doing the repointing. I'll just finish this little bit off, and then I'll move to the next bit. Okay, so I can tell now that this is starting just to take a little bit. It's starting to dry out, so I've got to be careful. So I'm going to stop. Like I say, don't go too far, because you'll end up getting frustrated because it'll go off before you can get to it, and it'll be a waste of your time. So we're doing something called weatherstruck. As you can see on this, a weatherstruck is where you're just putting a slight chamfer on the joint so the water runs off. Now when you're pointing, whether it be with the bucket handle or the pointing trowel, it's really important that you're putting a nice shine, compressed finish on the top layer of the joint. That's making it harder for the water to penetrate. So it's really important that you don't drag it across. You certainly don't brush your brickwork straight away, because that'll undo all the good work. You might want to brush it later to get rid of some of the excess mortar, but certainly not until the joint's gone off, because it's just a waste of time. So I'm going to do the weatherstruck, and again I'm just going on a slight angle and tucking in and just pulling the trowel down like so, and then I move on to the next pair and do exactly the same. Okay, so once I've done that, you do all your perps first, and I'll explain why in a moment. Hopefully you'll see, understand why that's the case. So once you've done all the perps, you can then move to the bed joint. And again, you're tucking it in on the underside of the top brick, but leaving it flush on the brick below. And again, it's just applying pressure and pulling that across. I always go over first and scrape some of the excess mortar off, and then go over again. And you might want to scrape again. Okay, and I'll do it again on the bottom. Come straight through, and this comes with practice. You'll get the trowel snagged on a brick, it'll pull some of it out, but again it comes with practice, and with uneven bricks it is ever so slightly more difficult. So once I've done that, hopefully you can see that there's little snots here that have been made up. Now a lot of bricklayers would get a brush and brush that off, but you have to do something called top and tailing. Okay, so literally with the pointed trowel with nothing on it, I'm just taking the roughness off there, and the same at the bottom, and the same there, same at the bottom, just getting rid of the little overlapping mortar. Okay, and that's it. You've done your brickwork, and then you'll move on. The one thing I'll just guard against is it's important that you do all your grinding out first. I've just done a very small area just for the purpose of the demonstration, but if you were doing this wall, you would grind it all out first, wash it down, clear all your debris up, have a nice clean safe working area, and then you would start to repoint. If you were doing this entire wall, when you're doing the repointing, you always start at the top and work your way down. Okay, because if you start at the bottom and work your way up, potentially anything that you're washing out after is going to fall on the work that you've already done. So always work from the top, work your way down. You could potentially grind the top metre out, repoint it, grind out the bottom metre, repoint it. If you did it vice versa, all the debris would fall on the work that you've already done. So it's a little bit counterproductive. So that's the video concluded for today. I hope that's been useful. Obviously we do adult courses and weekend courses on basic bricklaying, brick repair and repointing, so take a look at the website and have a look out for them. And thank you very much. See you later.